Hello and welcome to my latest video. This one is all about, well, it's a peek into my writing journal. I have shared on my channel over the last couple of years what goes on inside my writing journal, because I do think a lot of people overthink what they should be writing in a journal. I use my writing journal simply as a kind of external hard drive for my head. It's where I put all my thoughts just in case I forget. That is it, simple as that. And it's mainly to do with my creativity and with my writing. So this is my current journal, which is a perfectly penned. This is the brown vegan leather cover. In the past, I've had turquoise, pink, and grey. This is my fourth perfectly penned journal and sixth journal since I started using a writing journal, which has only been a couple of years. I think I've done about 80 something pages in here, 83 pages. And I've just gone through off camera and selected some pages to show you. Let's take a look. I started this in September 2021, which was just a few months ago. And this journal started out as me ranting a little bit to myself, where I'm saying I'm fed up of being timid, I'm fed up of reining myself in, I do know what I'm talking about, I know how I can help people, I know I have experience, yet I block myself. And this, I've marked this to show you because I think this is a kind of theme for the whole of the notebook. It's basically me trying to show up more for myself and for my clients and for my club members and so on. But then you can see I'm pushing myself too much and it starts to take its toll on my health, my mental health, as well as my physical health. I started this journal being quite tough on myself, and then I probably pushed myself too hard. And it was quite interesting as I was going through this to mark off the pages of the kind of journey I've been on just within a couple of months, because it's now the middle of November and I am sort of coming out of this kind of stressful period because I have had this realization. It's interesting where it all started from me being really strict with myself, I suppose. Yeah, and that's what I've written here on this sticky note. This is the theme for this quarter. Helen, stop being so hard on yourself. You're one person. And I think that's because I try and do too much within a certain time frame. And I've even written here, there is a sense of having to keep up, and yet I'm just one person. The people I see producing more may have VAs or specialist help or freelancers working for them, and I have to tell myself to have a few days to chill. It took me until a week or so ago to take that advice. So it's interesting how I saw it coming, but it took me a while to act on it. Now, I've used a pink sticky note here because this is about a book I read, and this is The Rules Upheld by No One, which is by Amy McNee, who is Inspired to Write on Instagram. This I made for a reel for Instagram where I stuck in all these different words and I was trying to experiment and do something a bit arty. However, the text is actually some thoughts I had, which I may have put on my iPhone first. And so I decided to write it into my journal as well to make a note of it. And I know where I'm already using that in some of my non-fiction writing. So again, it's just making notes of things as they come to you. I didn't know that was going to be part of something I was writing. In fact, I don't think I've even come back to refer to this, but because I made a note of it, it has seeped through into my writing. So what is this? This is when I'm describing going to the physio. Yes, I remember now. I was talking to the physio, who is someone I've never met before, and she was asking me about what I do, and I started to tell her, and inadvertently I was telling her my why and what was driving me and things like that. So as soon as I got home, I wrote everything down that I told her, but just because I thought it would be useful, because sometimes I forget. What I was starting to write down here is ideas for my YouTube channel, because I've started on TikTok and I've been creating reels on Instagram for some time, and I just thought, well, I really enjoy, I'd forgotten how much I enjoy the editing side and creating something on film and then uploading it. And so I thought, well, I will start doing smaller, shorter videos on YouTube as well. And this is all the ideas I was starting to have for it. I'd written about, I could do a video on the new writing notebook, which is the planner pad, which I mentioned in last week's video. So that is how all that came about. This is a quote by Dieter von Teese. You may have heard it before. You can be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world, and there's still going to be someone who hates peaches. And I wrote that down. I saw it on Instagram and it really pulled me in. I've said this before, I'm not a big fan of quotes. However, that really spoke to me. That became the inspiration behind a newsletter I wrote, which I called Not Being a Peach. And I just wrote how it was a liberating thought that not everyone will like what you do. So why are you going out of your way to please those people? You have to be yourself. So that is another example of how something quite simple, just scrolling through Instagram, seeing that quote, putting it in there, and then it became a newsletter. What I'll do is I'll link that newsletter in the description box below, and you can see how something very simple became the inspiration behind a piece of content, for want of a better description. This is a newsletter idea where I'm writing about where I'm obsessed with desks, and these sticky notes here are basically ones that I had on my desk. I think I had them stuck on my computer and I have just stuck them in here rather than them getting lost. And it's just some thoughts I had that could become an essay that could go into my self-published book. Next, this is an example of a script that I wrote in here for my YouTube video. I just put it in my writing journal. From Sunday the 29th of October, I decided to cancel my Eventbrite event, Becoming Creatively Confident, because I was clenching my jaw, and I realised now that this was a physical manifestation of what was going on mentally with my anxiety. I was just writing down why I decided to cancel it. I like to record my creative journey. This here, I had a masterclass to do about having lack of confidence and feeling lost with your creativity. So I started to write down my notes here. I do have a notebook where I write out my masterclasses, but I just did it in here. I think when I have my proper notebook for writing out my masterclasses, I think it has to be almost finished before I get in there. So doing it in my writing journal takes the pressure off, because I know it can be messy and I can just dump my thoughts in here. I've got another pink sticky here, and that is because I'm currently reading Bookworm by Lucy Mangan, and this is a non-fiction book. It's a memoir of Lucy's journey with reading from a very young age, and it made me think about the library that I used to go to in the town where I grew up. It made me think about my own journey with reading and how I stopped reading throughout college and university because that's when the textbooks take over, and how the journey sort of goes dips and flows. It made me think about my own reading journey, so I made some notes here, and maybe that will appear one day in something that I'm writing. This is basically a brain dump of all the things that I think I have to do. Again, I'm putting pressure on myself to get lots of things done. Just doing a brain dump made me feel better, because sometimes you can make things a lot bigger in your head than what they actually are. And these are some notes I made from a productivity and accountability session with the club members. I asked them if they would find it useful to have some practical sessions, and these will start in the new year, where we'll, instead of just talking about mindset and our productivity and accountability stuff, I'm going to help with things like setting up newsletters and starting blogs, how to do video, YouTube, TikTok, whatever, and share that information with them. And then these were just a few things that I said I would research and come back to, and I've given it an orange little sticky note because it's a live action and I need to come back to this and take action on it. So we're nearly at the end. Can I just say, by the way, for all those people who worry about messing up their notebook, this was when I was trying to get my fountain pen to work. I gave it a shake, as you do, and ink splodges came out, and I really desperately needed to turn the page and write things down, because I think I made the splodge here, and so I just, I turned the page and the splodge got bigger. But do you know what? I don't care, because it's my writing journal and I can do things like that in it. It does not have to be pristine and perfect and brilliant writing. It is simply what I'm extracting from my head, the sorts of things that I am interested in, that I've seen online or in a book, that's made me think about things, and so I've written it down, and later on it seeps into blog posts, into books, into talks that I do, and it guides me as well with the direction that I want to go in. So I've written about clenching my teeth. This is the big thing for this section of this notebook, and it's guiding me and telling me to slow down with the amount of work that I take on. In other notebooks, I've written about starting to loathe Instagram at the time, and then I'd written lots of different things like that, wishing it didn't exist and stuff, and then eventually I caught up with what I was writing in my journal, and I took a break from Instagram, which was the best thing I could have done. It was what I needed to do at the time. The answers were all there in my writing journal, in my writing notebook. It enabled me to make decisions with my writing, with my creativity, because my gut feelings were backed up with evidence from a few weeks ago, a few months ago, a year ago even, and I could start seeing a pattern of where I was going or where I needed to go. And that is why I love my writing journal so much. It's not just a place for recording ideas, but it is a place for recording feelings, so you can get that guidance that you need. It's all there in your head. It's just a matter of extracting it. And then finally here, this is a couple of things that I've extracted from my iPhone when I didn't have my notebook with me, and I've written down, don't let the potential opinions of others stop you from pursuing your creative dreams. And I actually made a TikTok from that and put that on my Instagram stories. And this one, I don't have to prove to myself that I'm an expert. I simply have to share the lessons I've learned. And that I heard on a podcast, which was the Rebel Author podcast. It spoke to me, because I'm not professing that I'm an expert. I'm not an expert in writing a journal. I'm not an expert as a writer. I'm certainly not an expert as a writer. I'm not even an expert in mindset and confidence or lack of confidence or fears. anything like that. I'm simply sharing the lessons that I have learned over the years. Again, that takes the pressure off, because when you think you're an expert, you think, well, you get imposter syndrome as an example, and just sharing the lessons you've learned takes that imposter syndrome away, or at least dials it down some important notches. Anyway, so there we go. That is what I've written in my writing journal since September. Like I said at the very beginning, it's interesting because I can see my journey with my anxiety coming out of there. And I feel, because I've not done a lot of work over the last week or 2 weeks, I feel that was exactly the right thing to do. Because you know how you can feel guilt when you take some time out. I felt guilt when I cancelled my Eventbrite masterclass. And then I thought, am I self-sabotaging myself? All sorts of feelings. And this is my reassurance. It's my ideas, it's my thoughts, it's my direction, it's my external hard drive, and like I say, it's my reassurance. It's so many things, and it is quite magical to have. So if you haven't already got a journal for writing down your thoughts, I do highly recommend it. And don't worry about splodges, don't worry about creasing pages. Look, I'll even do one for you now. Don't worry about things like that. It doesn't matter. What's important is that you just write.